In 1880, this was the most dangerous town in America. Bodie, California. 10,000 souls clinging to a rock, fueled by gold, whiskey, and violence. They called it a sea of sin. And today, it's a ghost. How does a town this alive die so completely? And what secrets are buried with it? Today, we're using rare historical photographs to resurrect 8 of the West's most legendary ghost towns, revealing them then and now. The American West is a landscape of dreams. Dreams of gold, of new beginnings. And scattered across this vast land are the skeletons of those dreams. Ghost towns. They're more than just abandoned buildings. They're monuments to ambition, to hardship, and to the relentless march of time. Each one tells a story of a boom, a fleeting, brilliant flash of life and prosperity followed by the inevitable bust. Today, we're peeling back the layers of time. We'll stand on the same streets where thousands once walked, and through the magic of old photographs, we'll see the world as they saw it. Then, we'll witness the dramatic shift to the quiet ruins of today. Our journey begins in a place once called the wildest town in the West. Picture a town high in the Sierra Nevada mountains, over 8,300 feet up, where a discovery in 1859 sparked a full-blown gold rush. That was Bodie. By 1879, its population had exploded to nearly 10,000 souls, a chaotic, energetic mix of miners, merchants, and gunslingers. Let's look at this photograph of Main Street from around 1880. It's a river of humanity. The wooden boardwalks are packed with people. Horse-drawn wagons clog the wide dirt street. The buildings stand shoulder to shoulder. Hotels, stores, and dozens of saloons. You can almost hear the noise, the clatter of wagon wheels, the din from the bars, and the constant, pounding rhythm of the stamp mills crushing ore. The sound of a town producing over $35 million in gold and silver. Bodie was so notoriously wild that a little girl learning her family was moving there supposedly prayed, "Goodbye, God. I'm going to Bodie." The legend grew so big that the phrase became famous all across the West. Now, let's step into the present. That same Main Street is eerily silent. The crowds are gone. The wagons have vanished. But the buildings, many of them, are still here. Because it was made a state historic park in 1962, Bodie is preserved in a state of arrested decay. This means nothing is restored to look new. It's just kept from falling down. The buildings you see today are the very same ones from that 1880s photo, their wood weathered by more than a century of brutal mountain winters. You can peer into the saloon and see bottles still on the shelves, or into the schoolhouse and see lessons on the chalkboard. The town didn't die all at once, but from a slow decline. The mines became less productive in the early 1880s, people drifted away, and 2 massive fires, one in 1892 and another in 1932, sealed its fate. What's left isn't just a ghost town, but a time capsule, one of the most authentic glimpses into the gold rush era you can find anywhere on Earth. Not all boomtowns were just rough-and-tumble shacks. For a brief moment, some were beacons of style and ambition. Welcome to Rhyolite, Nevada, right on the edge of Death Valley. Born from a 1904 gold discovery, Rhyolite wasn't just built to last, it was built to impress. By 1907, it had electric lights, water mains, telephones, an opera house, and even a symphony. It was a pocket of civilization in the middle of a harsh desert. The ultimate symbol of this dream was the John S. Cook and Company Bank. Look at this photo of it, finished in 1908. It's a magnificent 3-story building made of reinforced concrete, costing nearly $90,000, a staggering sum back then. It had Italian marble floors, mahogany woodwork, and stained glass windows. It was the tallest, most luxurious building for miles. A testament to the belief that Rhyolite's boom was just getting started. People saw this building and saw the next great city of the West. But today, the Cook Bank is a hollowed-out shell, a skeletal ruin against the desert sky. The vibrant town around it is gone. The financial panic of 1907 hit Rhyolite hard. The mines, which were way overvalued, started to fail. By 1911, the main mine and mill shut down. The population, which peaked somewhere between 3,500 and 5,000 people, simply evaporated. By 1920, it was practically zero. The magnificent bank was stripped of its finery and left to rot. Its empty windows now stare out at the vast desert that has reclaimed the town, a poignant symbol of the boom and bust cycle. Our next stop takes us north to the banks of Grasshopper Creek in Montana, to a town that was not only a gold rush hub but also the very first territorial capital of Montana, Banick. Founded in 1862 after a huge gold strike, the town grew with stunning speed. Within a year, it exploded from a few hundred prospectors to a bustling community of over 3,000. This brings us to a building that tells the town's whole story, the Hotel Meade. But it wasn't always a hotel. In this historic photo, you can see this imposing two-story brick building was originally built in 1875 as the Beaverhead County Courthouse. It was the heart of law and order. Can you imagine the dramas that played out here? The land disputes, the criminal trials? This building was the center of power. But Banick's time in the spotlight was short. The capital moved to Virginia City just a year later. By 1881, the county seat moved too, and this grand courthouse stood empty. In 1890, it was reborn as the Grand Hotel Meade, the town's new social hub. Today, the Hotel Meade still stands, the largest building in Banick State Park, a silent brick sentinel on Main Street. The town around it is one of the best preserved ghost towns in the country, with over 50 buildings still standing. Banick's decline was a slow bleed. The easy-to-get gold was quickly gone, and though other mining kept it alive for decades, the population dwindled until the last residents left in the 1970s. The story of the Hotel Meade is the story of Banick itself, a tale of sudden importance, reinvention, and eventual quiet stillness. The history here feels so thick, some visitors even claim to see the ghost of the town's corrupt sheriff, Henry Plummer, who was hanged by vigilantes. High in the Sawatch Range of Colorado, at nearly 10,000 feet, lies St. Elmo, one of the state's best-preserved ghost towns. Founded in 1880, it was originally named Forest City, but had to change it to avoid male mix-ups. Fueled by rich silver and gold mines, St. Elmo grew to a population of about 2,000 people. Let's look at this image of Main Street from its heyday in the 1890s. It's a picture of rugged, high-altitude life. Wooden buildings line the street, housing hotels, saloons, and a general store. A critical lifeline was the railroad that snaked its way through the treacherous mountains, connecting St. Elmo to the world. The train wasn't just for supplies. It was for shipping out the incredible wealth from the mountains, especially from the famous Mary Murphy mine, which alone produced over $60 million in gold. Now look at that same street today. It's remarkably, hauntingly familiar. Many of those original buildings are still standing. St. Elmo never died in a single event. Its decline was a cascade. A fire in 1890 destroyed much of the business district. The silver crash of 1893 hurt the economy. But the final blow came in 1922 when the railroad stopped service. Without the train, the mines couldn't survive. The town's lifeblood was cut. The story goes that the remaining residents took one last train ride out of town and never came back. Today, the town remains a stunningly preserved ghost of its former self, a place where you can still feel the ambition of the miners who dared to build a life among the clouds. We're halfway through our journey, and the stories these towns tell are just incredible. Each photo is like a window into a lost world. If you're finding this trip back in time as fascinating as I am, and you want to see more explorations of forgotten places, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. It's the best way to let me know you're enjoying these stories and ensures you won't miss what's next. Now let's head to a town where farming, not mining, was king. Not every ghost town in the West was born from a frantic search for gold. Some were built on a different kind of faith. This is Chesterfield, Idaho, a town founded by Mormon pioneers in 1881. They weren't chasing a mineral boom. They were looking for a place to build a community, to farm, and to put down roots. This historic photo shows the Chesterfield Meeting House, the heart of the community. By the turn of the 20th century, Chesterfield was a thriving farming town with a population that peaked just under 700 people. They built sturdy brick homes, a store, and a community hall. Life was ordered and cooperative, centered around faith and the shared struggle of farming in a tough landscape. But look at Chesterfield now. It's a quiet, open landscape of scattered buildings, almost entirely empty. So what happened? Chesterfield's decline was a slow, painful process. First, the railroad, the engine of the West, bypassed the town and went through nearby Bancroft instead, stunting its growth. Then came the brutal one-two punch of the Great Depression and the agricultural crises of the 1920s and 30s. Harsh Idaho winters and the lure of city life slowly pulled the population away. By 1970, only 20 people were left. Today, thanks to a foundation, 27 original buildings are preserved. A quiet tribute to the pioneers who tried to build a permanent home based on faith and farming. Let's journey south to Texas, to a place that wasn't just a town but an industrial empire. This is Thurber. At its peak around 1920, it was home to 10,000 people and was the largest company town in the state, owned entirely by the Texas and Pacific Coal Company. This historic photo shows the sheer scale of the operation. The smokestacks, the massive brickworks, the neat rows of company houses. Thurber was its own world. The company owned everything: the schools, the churches, the opera house. It was one of the first towns in Texas to be completely electrified. Workers, many of them immigrants, were paid in company scrip, only usable at the company store. For years, the town was even fenced off to keep unions out. Besides producing coal, Thurber's brick factory became legendary, making the iconic paving bricks for Austin's Congress Avenue and the Galveston seawall. Now, look at Thurber today. Of that bustling city of 10,000, almost nothing remains but a lonely, towering smokestack and a few buildings by the side of the interstate. It's one of the most complete erasures of a town you'll ever see. The death of Thurber was as swift and corporate as its birth. When locomotives switched to oil, its main product, coal, became obsolete. In 1933, the company simply abandoned the town. They dismantled it, sold the houses, and tore buildings down. By the late 1930s, Thurber was a ghost, a stark reminder of how quickly industrial giants can rise and how completely they can vanish. Some ghost towns aren't remembered for violence or industry, but for their serene, haunting beauty. Nestled by the Virgin River near what is now Zion National Park, Grafton, Utah is one of those places. Settled by Mormon families in 1859, Grafton was a farming community, locked in a constant struggle against floods and isolation. This stunning historical photo from the late 19th century captures the town's quiet dignity. You can see the solid, humble homes and the iconic brick schoolhouse, which was also the church and community center. At its peak, Grafton was a small but determined settlement. The residents planted orchards and alfalfa, creating a green oasis in the Red Rock Desert. Today, Grafton is one of the most picturesque ghost towns in the American West. The scene is remarkably unchanged, yet profoundly different. Several original buildings, including the schoolhouse, have been beautifully preserved. But the people are long gone. The difficulty of life there led families to slowly drift away, and by 1945, the last resident had left. The town now sits in a state of preserved silence. Its cinematic beauty so captivating it was used as a backdrop for movies, including the classic Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Our final stop is a ghost town so unique, it exists in 2 states at once. Welcome to Glen Rio, straddling the border of Texas and New Mexico. Glen Rio wasn't a mining town. It was a child of the open road, born in 1903 as a stop on the Rock Island Railroad. Its destiny was tied to the most famous highway in America, Route 66. This vintage photo from the 1950s shows Glen Rio in its prime. It's a classic Route 66 scene. Cars parked at the State Line Motel and Cafe, neon signs glowing. Glen Rio thrived on a quirky economy created by its location. The county in Texas was dry, so all the bars were on the New Mexico side. And since New Mexico had a higher gas tax, all the gas stations were on the Texas side. For decades, this tiny town thrived on the constant flow of traffic along the Mother Road. But look at it now. The once bustling strip is a collection of decaying, empty buildings. The vibrant signs are gone, the windows are boarded up, and the only sound is the wind. The fate of Glen Rio was sealed by a single word: bypass. In 1973, Interstate 40 was completed. It swept traffic past the town, just a few hundred yards away, but it might as well have been a million miles. Almost overnight, the customers vanished. The cafes, motels, and gas stations closed, one by one. The town died. Today, the Glen Rio Historic District preserves what's left, a silent, poignant monument to the golden age of American road travel. From the gold-crazed hills of Bodie to the lonely pavement of Route 66, the stories of these 8 towns are the story of the American West in miniature. They are tales of incredible ambition, of fortunes won and lost, and of communities that rose from nothing only to be reclaimed by the silence of the desert and mountains. Looking at these then and now photographs, we do more than just see abandoned buildings. We see the ghosts of what was. We see the crowded streets, the proud businesses, and the faces of the pioneers, miners, and families who poured their lives into these places. They're a powerful reminder that nothing is permanent, and that the land itself holds the memories of every boom and every bust. What ghost towns have you explored? Which ones do you think hold the most fascinating stories? Let me know in the comments below. I read every one of them. Thanks for joining me on this journey through time.